It is the month of love.
Hata hiyo
wacha to feel mellow and mushy.
Yes. Katika huu uchumi hatuna time ya kusinzia. You know, love is personal. When you feel feeling lovey-dovey, you can express it. It doesn't need to be a date on the calendar that sasa leo ni February 14th. See what to fall in love.
Mali, as chair.
I feel love uko in December.
Yani that is what happens. Ikiwa ni wiki ya Valentine's Men's Conference.
Okay. So like seriously. You're attending the men's conference.
Hii ingine ya flowers is near TV. From the bottom of my heart, happy Valentine's.
Okay. So now we know
this maua wachia ng'ombe wakule.
To get the pit as your skiza tune, dial *811 *397 hash.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships. The pit is not your destination. Get ready to rise.
To get the pit, dial *811 *397 hash. *811 *397 hash.
It was all stage money.
Well, a very good evening to you. We hope that you are keeping well, and thank you for making time to join us here on Prime Edition on KBC Channel 1. Now, Eritrea is one of the countries that you can visit visa-free. That is one of the announcements that was made today as President William Ruto met his Eritrean counterpart. All that is coming up and much more, but first, here are the highlights.
It was all stage managed. DCI says the purported raid on Fred Matiang'i's home was a deliberate attempt to incite public fear. Reading the Riot Act. Azimio Coalition holds a parliamentary group meeting reprimanding dishonest members. And in business, just 1,431 out of the targeted 1.1 million farmers have so far bought the subsidized fertilizer.
My name is Betty Kiptum, and Lucy Moura is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has been granted anticipatory bail by the High Court to stop his purported impending arrest. His lawyer, Danstan Omari, says Matiang'i was granted a personal bond of 200,000 shillings, with the court stopping any form of arrest and prosecution. The former Cabinet Secretary on Wednesday claimed his house was under siege by security officers who were allegedly seeking to arrest him for unknown reasons.
Court orders, ex parte from the court. He walks in, he gets an order, comes out. He walks in, he gets an order, comes out. In fact, he could even walk in today and say he wants an order so that all cabinet secretaries commit suicide. He will get the order. He walks in, gets an order, comes out. What does that say about our judicial system?
The same order fought by the then Interior CS Fred Matiang'i has now turned out to be his savior. Matiang'i obtained anticipatory order stopping his arrest and prosecution 4 years after he had accused the judiciary of the new invention where some top officials would rush to shield themselves from any arrest.
Matiang'i will not run away. from this country. He will not go away from this country. He has not committed any known crime. Anybody with evidence, let him present that evidence.
According to his lawyer Danston Omari, Matiang'i was granted a personal bond of 200,000 shillings. Security agencies stopped from arresting or prosecuting him.
There seems to be a choreographed attack on the former cabinet CSS, including the former head of state. So we'll be taking instructions today from the other CSS and the PSS, plus the former head of state, with a view of filing anticipatory bail application for all of them.
If there is anything against him, it's in plain view. Call him in court. We shall defend him. But we cannot now vilify him. And of course, I know tomorrow it will be Kibicho, the other day Professor Wajakoya. We are ready all to go to court.
The lawyers had also earlier gone to Kawa Law Courts to meet the Director of Public Prosecution on the same. But the government has disputed claims of the purported arrest. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki stated that no police officers were sent to Matiang'i's home, dismissing claims made by leaders who spoke about the incident. His sentiments were supported by Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome, who also denied claims his officers went to former Interior CS home in Karen. The DCI says preliminary investigations have uncovered evidence of a well-coordinated and deliberate attempt to spread false information and incite public fears. It says the DCI will not tolerate the purveyors of false information and will take firm and bold action against all those involved in the matter. The leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, terming the night drama at Matiang'i's Karen home a well-choreographed script that has failed terribly.
If he thinks he's guilty of something, he has everything to fear. But he need not worry that anybody will raid his house in the middle of the night. President William Ruto is running a very responsible, accountable and transparent government, and he has committed to that.
The leaders allege that the former CS was seeking sympathy after panicking from alleged acts he committed during his time in office.
There are lawyers who are also associating themselves with some of these very unfortunate scripts that are being put out there. The truth of the matter is that there has been an attempt to bring disorder, chaos, and civil action.
Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Now, the opposition says it will maintain its tempo on sustaining pressure on President William Ruto's administration to deliver on economic and electoral justice. The coalition that convened in Machakos for its parliamentary group meeting claimed the current regime is cannibalizing democracy by wooing MPs affiliated to the opposition.
Kenyans deserve some guaranteed minimum income during these tough times. The social protection programs, which guarantee a basic monthly income, must be reinstated and expanded. With regard to electoral justice, we must return this country to the ideal that the government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the people. The peoples express their preferences through the ballot, and that the preferences made at the ballot must be respected.
If you don't decide in your own mind and your own spirit that you want to be part of the action, please do not blame your constituents when, after 4 years or thereabouts, they throw you out. Do you think these people who went to State House today, the ones who went the other day, if there's an election to be called, would they really? Poor Jalango. In fact, I was looking for him. I'm still going to look for Jalango.
And Kenya and Eritrea have resolved to permanently abolish visa requirements for their respective citizens in a move that is expected to deepen and strengthen trade ties and connectivity between the two countries. In a joint communique at the State House with President Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea, President William Ruto announced that Kenya is also exploring possibilities of establishing a diplomatic mission in Asmara, Eritrea.
Eritrea and Kenya have signed a diplomatic agreement allowing visa-free travel for their citizens with passports. In a joint communique at the State House, the two heads of state instructed their respective ministries to work on the modalities for ratification of the directive.
We agreed to abolish the requirement of visa permanently, effective today.
President William Ruto and his counterpart, President Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea, said the move will further deepen trading ties, allowing free movement of goods, services and people between the two nations.
Our visit today will breathe new life and create new impetus for trade and investment between our two countries.
In the last decade, exports of Kenya to Eritrea have declined at an annualized rate of 1.26% from 115.3 million shillings to 86.1 million shillings in 2020. President William Ruto announced that Kenya will also open a diplomatic mission representation in Asmara, Eritrea. The president lauded the Eritrean president for reconsidering its membership in the regional body IGAD, saying the move will strengthen regional integration at a time the Horn of Africa is tackling emerging issues such as climate change.
Your decision to reconsider the membership of your country in our regional body IGAD will bring fresh impetus, will guarantee new wisdom in managing the affairs that are affecting our region.
Rejoining or coming back again in IGAD with the idea of revitalizing this regional integration organization so that any meaningful bilateral cooperation between Kenya and Eritrea will have to be seen within the context of the integrated region.
The two heads of state also signed a framework agreement for cooperation, which will form the basis for joint action across various sectors. The presidents reaffirmed their commitment to resolve issues of terrorism and insecurity in Somalia, Sudan, and South Sudan. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called upon local and foreign agencies to join government efforts in the fight against climate change and its effects. Gachagua, who spoke during the 45th Annual Lions Day celebrations at the United Nations headquarters in Gigiri, revealed that over 5.3 million Kenyans from 31 counties are affected by the current drought, with the country having lost livelihoods valued at 187 billion shillings in the last year.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now says the drought situation in the country has worsened, with over 5.3 million people in 31 countries affected. The DP made the revelations during the 45th Annual Lions Day celebrations at the United Nations headquarters in Gigiri, calling for support in mitigating the devastating drought.
We are in a crisis. No doubt, the world is bleeding from the impacts of climate change. Kenya is bleeding from the impact of climate change. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to demonstrate the impact of climate change, Kenya has consecutively missed 5 rain seasons. We are deep into the longest drought in 4 decades. As a result, more than 5 million Kenyans are facing starvation.
The DP further revealed that the country will be spending over 50 billion shillings all the way to October this year to further caution Kenya and wildlife from the reeling effects of drought and climate change.
The situation is dire. We need at least 57.36 billion for short-term and mid-term programs, which will be gradually implemented until October 2023. In an effort to make food more affordable, we have also subsidized production by availing farm inputs at cheaper rates. But for sustainability, we call upon more partnership and commitment to long-term solutions.
This even as the committee call upon Kenyans to come on board and help raise 1 billion shillings by the end of the month of February to help over 4 million Kenyans staring at starvation.
So we'll be appealing to every single Kenyans, and there'll be a lot of communication that will allow us to reach everyone so that everyone can contribute. Every shilling count, every 10 shillings count, every 100 shillings count, because it adds up to feeding families.
The committee has in the meanwhile partnered with the Kenya Defence Forces to sink at least 192 boreholes in arid and semi-arid counties to address water scarcity.
We will have signed a partnership with KDF to repair boreholes that will benefit 1.7 million people. And there is more that we'll do beyond that.
For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
And family, friends and colleagues have paid a glowing tribute to the late Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha, eulogizing him as a man who was firm, effective and had no place for mediocrity. Speaking during the memorial mass held at Consolata Shrine in Westlands on Thursday, his wife Barbara and son Michael eulogized him as a friend and a man who taught them to stand for what is right. Magoha died on the 24th of January after suffering a cardiac arrest. He will be buried on Saturday in Siaya County.
At the Consolata Shrine in Nairobi County, the late Professor George Albert Omore Magoha's life and achievements are being celebrated. Family, friends and colleagues pouring glowing tributes to the late astute scholar. His wife, Dr. Barbara Magoha, reminiscing their meeting in Lagos, Nigeria, and the eventual marriage.
Everybody knows that my husband was supposed to go to Zambia to do medicine. But at the last minute, he came to Lagos. We met, and after 1 month, as I said, he started telling people we are getting married.
Barbara Tamin Magoha is a man who loved his family and who allowed her star in academia to glow.
Magoha, son of Magoha, has exited the stage when the ovation was loudest.
He always just kept it very simple. They kept telling me all the time, I don't know if they even realize this. All they said is just do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. It's that simple. And that's all he did.
Those who worked with Magoha in different areas throughout his career, hailing his dedication to performance and accountability.
If he told me this is not personal, my adrenaline would start surging. I would start looking for explanations and the remedies. He would say, stop right there. I want you to go and sit somewhere, record what you are telling me, then listen to yourself. He would take his time to synthesize an idea and even consult over it as much as he would do. But once he was convinced about the direction to take, there was no stopping him.
He was firm but kind to us. Firm because he said, as a student, he wants the day he will require to be served by you, you will know what you are doing.
The Requiem Mass was also attended by top government officials and those who served with the late Magoha in the previous cabinet.
We mourn the passing of a good man, a loyal servant of the Republic of Kenya, a highly accomplished scholar and a great teacher who gave sound leadership everywhere he worked.
Professor Magoha's experience and work ethic endeared him to many in the ministry, especially his unfiable qualities of hard work, integrity, and boldness.
What we learned from Professor is that if you have chosen public life, then you had better be ready to serve with honor and integrity.
Magoha will be laid to rest on Saturday, the 11th of February in Gem, Siaya County. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Of course, our sympathies and condolences as the family prepares to lay him to rest. Now, former Principal Gatanga CCM Secondary School, Elizabeth Wairimu Gatimu, has been charged with murder. This follows the death of a student in 2019 after it was established that she had been assaulted severely by a senior administrative member of the school on allegations of styling her hair contrary to school regulations. The principal pleaded not guilty as the court scheduled the matter to be mentioned on the 27th of February 2023 for bail and bond hearing. This and more from the corridors of justice.
Appearing before Kiambu High Court, the former Gatanga CCM High School principal pleading not guilty to the murder charges. This follows the alleged murder of Abi Noel on the night of 8th and 9th March 2019 at Gatanga CCM Secondary School in Gatanga Sub-County within Murang'a County. The former principal was presented in court after it was established that the girl was assaulted severely by a senior administrative member during evening prayers on allegations that her hair had been styled contrary to school regulations. The school administration had earlier claimed the student died in her sleep after complaining of chest pains during the day. The matter will be mentioned on the 27th of February 2023 for hearing on the application for bail and bond. Meanwhile, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko says he looks forward to a hearing at the East African Court of Justice by a 5-judge bench on his impeachment. Sonko maintains he got an unfair hearing at the Kenyan court and says his impeachment was politically instigated.
I think there was a lot of political influence during that time. When I was impeached, you saw some senators also, they spoke in Senate that they were bribed. Each was given 4 million to vote against me. Here is a victim of political witch hunt. Here is a victim of clear corruption on the part of a judge.
And the family of the late Mombasa businessman Abbas Anvareli Nazirali, who died in May last year, got reprieve after the Court of Appeal overturned orders for the exhumation of his body. Nazirali's brother Shakir Anwar, a Pakistan national, wanted the body exhumed after he made claims that his death could be a result of foul play. The magistrate and High Court allowed the exhumation of the body, prompting the wife and children to move to the appellate court. Finally, 4 suspects were charged in a Makadara court with cyberbullying. Javin Oching Othwor, Bramwell Wasonga Randari, Joseph Kaguma and Wale Sutino appeared before Principal Magistrate Eric Mutunga on cybercrime-related offences, which included the publication of false information on one Susan Kavaya Makungu. They were, however, released on a 1 million shillings bond or surety of the same amount. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Well, this is Prime Edition. We want to take a quick break. Remember, you can interact with us on Twitter. We are at KBC Channel 1. My personal Twitter handle is at Betty Kiptum. Tell us what you think about our stories and any comments that you may have. See you on the other side of the break.
Is this you going through a post-diet binge? Or is there something else bothering you? Either way, I'm in.
What happened to you? Don't look at me like that. What is it? You're not telling me. Bye. Take care. The food that I just took, I need a second order of everything.
It'll be another hour.
Another hour?
Can't even get our food right? Such a simple task. And you messed it up.
You helped my mother this afternoon?
Yeah.
We wanted to thank you.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku. kwenye M-Pesa, chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto, kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala, nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
It is the month of love.
Hata hiyo
wacha tu feel mellow and mushy.
Yes. Katika huu uchumi hatuna time ya kusinzia. You know, love is personal. When you feel feeling lovey-dovey, you can express it. It doesn't need to be a date on the calendar that sasa leo ni February 14th. See what to fall in love.
Mwali, as chair.
Me, I feel love uko in December.
Yani that is what happens. Ikiwa ni wiki ya Valentine's men's conference.
Okay. So like seriously. You're attending the men's conference.
Hii ingine ya flowers is near TV. From the bottom of my heart, happy Valentine's.
Okay. So now we know
this maua wachia ng'ombe wakule.
Vijana chapakazi wenye nguvu za ziada.
My youth, uko na talent ya kusing, spoken word, kucompose jingles ama any other unexploited artistic talent. Gava through Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy na KBC sasa wamekama up na project ya kupromote usanii called Studio Mashinani. Hizi ni studios ziko grassroots and they are fitted with high quality state-of-the-art equipment where you can produce quality audio and video music content for free. What's more, wanaoffer mentorship na talanta yako itakuwa promoted on KBC Channel 1 TV, Y254 na radio stations za KBC. Tembelea Studio Mashinani huko Comarox, Langata, Sauti House Mombasa, Kirwara huko Gatanga, Kitui next to Manyanyoni Chiefs Camp na Kisumu City wako hapo KBC Station. Usilalie talent. This is your chance to commercialize and popularize your talent through Studio Mashinani.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado jamwambia unamlike. Mrealize jamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the Trier sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
I want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local jams. And we sit to chat with the Thiambo.
I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me, with the Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono too. Hey, mashabiki. Say that
again. Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
Welcome back. You are watching Prime Edition. Now, the Teacher Service Commission now says that it will promote graduate teachers from primary schools to junior secondary schools as part of addressing the current shortage. The Commission says it is currently collecting applications from the qualified teachers before mapping out where they would be posted. The move comes after concerns were raised by stakeholders in the education sector about the insufficient number of teachers compared to the growing demand.
The Teachers Service Commission has moved a step forward in addressing the teachers shortage in the public junior secondary schools. This comes as the Commission announced that all the 30,550 newly employed teachers had reported to the junior secondary school for the first term. The Commission CEO Nancy Macharia admitted that there was a shortage of teachers in the public junior secondary schools, adding that the government was looking into the issue.
There are teachers who have
gone back to school and are graduates and who have the requisite qualifications and actually have the 2 teaching subjects. And since they are trained in secondary education, the TSC is trying to map them in addition to the 30,550 teachers whom we have already recruited.
She said that the commission was using its portal to collect applications from graduate teachers currently working in primary schools. Macharia added that the recently recruited teachers had reported to the junior secondary schools, terming the current shortage as teething challenges expected in any transition.
These are the gaps we are trying to grapple with, including now taking the higher qualifications to JSS, and we should be able to surmount them as we go on and as we get more funds. The government is committed to keeping its promise on employing more teachers and trying to close the gap that exists so far.
On his part, the chairman of the Senate Committee, Joseph Nyundu, termed the shortage of teachers in GSS as worrying and challenged the state to intervene.
We only have 1 cohort in junior secondary school. Next year, we'll have 2 cohorts. And so maybe the teacher requirement will double next year. So, Madam CEO should maybe lobby for more funding in order to engage more teachers.
The CEO was addressing the press at Sawela Lodge in Naivasha after meeting members of the Senate Committee on Education.
We have any other visitors apart from the members of the Fourth Estate?
Vijana chapakazi wenye nguvu za ziada.
My youth, uko na talent ya kusing, spoken word, kucompose jingles ama any other unexploited artistic talent. Gava through Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy na KBC sasa wamekama up na project ya kupromote usanii called Studio Mashinani. Hizi ni studios ziko grassroots and they are fitted with high quality state-of-the-art equipment where you can produce quality audio and video music content for free. What's more, wanaoffer mentorship na talanta yako itakuwa promoted on KBC Channel 1 TV, Y254 na radio stations za KBC. Tembelea Studio Mashinani huko Comarox, Langata, Sauti House Mombasa, Kirwara huko Gatanga, Kitui next to Manyanyoni Chiefs Camp na Kisumu City wako hapo KBC Station. Usilalie talent. This is your chance to commercialize and popularize your talent through Studio Mashinani.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
We now want to look at the latest in the world of business. And we start off with a story on the fertilizer subsidy, where just 1,431 farmers out of the targeted 1.1 million farmers have so far bought the subsidized fertilizer. Crops Principal Secretary Harsame Kelo blames the low uptake of subsidized fertilizer program on lack of information, adding that the government has revised the e-voucher expiry period from 7 days to 30 days to encourage uptake.
The National Treasury has released 15.3 billion shillings for the subsidized fertilizer program that is expected to see maize farmers in the country's maize belt buy 10 million bags of both planting and top dressing fertilizer. However, the government says so far only 1,431 maize farmers have purchased the subsidized fertilizer, with the government targeting 1.1 million maize farmers ahead of the planting season.
We started distribution of fertilizers to these farmers 5 days ago. And because we are starting, the picking is a bit slow, but we have registered that 1,431 farmers have already picked their fertilizers, and some of them have started using them.
To increase the uptake, the government has extended the expiry date for the e-voucher from the current 7 days to 30 days.
The
voucher which has been issued will be valid for 30 days, within which time all the fertilizers would have arrived at the destination and the farmer pick.
Large-scale maize farmers in the 12 targeted counties have been encouraged to apply for the subsidized fertilizer to increase maize production.
Fertilizer number is not limited. If you have 1,000 acres and you want to produce as a farmer, so long as you are registered and you indicated that you will plant 1,000 acres, you will get your 2 bags per acre. So there is no limit.
Traders and millers have received licenses to import 10 million bags of maize.
We have issued import licenses to a number of traders, to a number of millers who are going to import maize from now. The import license takes effect from the beginning of February. Some people have started bringing in maize. They are going to help us offset the food deficit.
Benson Droba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, a man who faked the death of his family members to be paid 600,000 shillings by an insurance company has been charged with 3 counts of obtaining money by false pretense by a Mombasa court. Philip Odero Kauma admitted to obtaining 100,000 shillings as the last expense claim from an insurance company on 2nd June 2021 in Mombasa County.
Philip Odero Kauma was Thursday arraigned before Mombasa resident magistrate Viola Mudhoni and charged with 3 counts of obtaining money by false pretense and 1 count of attempting to obtain money by false pretense. In the first count, he admitted obtaining 100,000 shillings as the last expense claim from the insurance company on 2nd June 2021 at a local bank branch within Mombasa County by forcefully pretending that Veronica Anyango Odero died on 16th June 2021. In the second count, Kauma confessed to have obtained a similar amount of money by forcefully pretending that Bendeta Makanda Kauma is deceased. He further admitted to receiving 250,000 shillings as last expense claim on 5th October 2021 by forcefully pretending that Bendeta Makanda Kauma was dead. Kauma was also charged with attempting to receive 500,000 shillings by forcefully pretending that Seraphine Anyango Juma had died on 30th August 2021. The prosecution counsel Mohammed Yasir pleaded for more time to conclude the investigation, with the case set to be mentioned on Monday next week. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
And a tax expert from CDH Kenya says expansion of the tax base is the solution to alleviating the tax burden. The Kenya Revenue Authority has been tasked with increasing tax collection from 2.1 trillion shillings in the last financial year to 5 trillion shillings in the short term. Is pushing for the expansion of the tax base as an antidote to the country's debt crisis. President William Ruto has directed the Kenya Revenue Authority to increase tax collections from 14% of GDP to 25%. This translates to a jump from 2 trillion shillings collected in the last financial year to 5 trillion shillings in the year 2027. Enrollment on the iTax system has improved over the years, but the government is optimistic that more can be collected. The increased tax revenue targets mean that the taxman will be looking for new ways to net more taxes.
There are tough times ahead. So in terms of advice is just to ensure that you're compliant already with your existing tax obligations. So that's number 1. 2, you need to keep abreast with changing tax laws. We have the finance bill that will be coming up and then to become an act from the 1st of July. So there will be a lot of public participation again involved there.
Kanyi says the lean tax base has overburdened those in the formal sector.
For the longest time, I think we've been relying on the same taxpayers, even when you're talking about increasing taxes. So be it excise duty, you're looking at the same guys who are doing either alcohol, spirits, or other soft beverages. Be it PAYE, you're looking at the same people who are also paying pay as you earn on their salaries. So it's time to look at other sectors to expand that tax base. It's time we look at that discussion on taxing the informal sector. So be it the Mama Mbogas, be it guys in Gikomba, it's time to think of, are they paying their fair share of tax? And perhaps government will focus more on those as well.
Higher revenue targets for the taxman mean a heavier tax burden for the Kenyan. But experts are urging the public to ensure that they participate in the budget-making process and tax law processes before they become legalized.
So let's interact, let's engage, as opposed to reacting when already the tax measures are in our laws. Let's participate when those laws are being made so that our voice can be heard. We can tell the government, okay, you want to raise tax in this particular way, but we're not comfortable. Could you consider perhaps another way? So let's get involved.
Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition. Of course, that's a story I worked on earlier on in the day. Now, the Croton megalocarpus is a drought-resistant tree species used as firewood and making charcoal in some parts of the country. However, many are not aware that its seeds are untapped gold mine. A group of farmers in Laikipia County have embraced production of the seeds as an ingredient for making organic fertilizer, beauty products, and organic diesel. Our reporter Frederick Moki was at Turaku Farm in Laikipia County and compiled the following story.
Turaku, Laikipia County. A majority of residents here practice smart climate agriculture. From carrots, cassava, arrowroots, potatoes to green grams and peas. However, insufficient rain and water resources were a key challenge promoting some farmers to shift to organic farming. The indigenous croton tree, commonly known to many here as mkinduri, is an untapped gold mine. Its nuts are used as a commercial product for local communities here. The genesis of it all dates back in 2012 when crop scientist Cosmas Ochieng founded Ecofix Kenya.
Objective or vision is to see croton nut or tree becoming a cash crop in our country. And in the bigger context is that we begin to address conservation in a different narrative. So croton is ours. It's indigenous. Our ancestors survived with it as good for firewood and charcoal. We have just changed the narrative to make it more sustainable, to make it more renewable, instead of cutting it down. So I think croton, yes.
Every day, local farmers and producers deliver the seeds here for cash.
Nisaidia wakati huo nilikuwa na mtoto kwa shule. Ilinisaidia kulipia ya school fees. Akamaliza, lakini wakati huu ya kiangazi, hata kama sio mingi, kila kitu kidogo naona inatusaidia.
Kwanza mtu anaenda asubuhi from saa 1 ama saa 4 unaokota kama kilo 20 hivi, unakuja ana kupimia na kupea pesa, unaona uko na mia yako bili na ni masaa kidogo. Nikaona hii biashara ni mzuri.
Inanisaidia. Mimi ninanunua kaunga, ninanunua chakula, ninanunua taguo, kwani nikipata pesa tudogo naeka kwa nguo, tudogo naeka kwa chakula, maana iko na nani na mzee niko na tushushu.
Kabla sijaanza hii kazi nilikuwa sina pesa, lakini sasa mimi napata pesa sababu nikipeleka huko kwa factory mimi napata pesa.
The nuts are received and weighed to determine the price per kilogram before undergoing a dehuling process.
Primary goal here, the primary product is to get the seeds, and then we also have the secondary product, that is now the husk and the dust. So dust is not a waste product, husk is not a waste product, but we process seeds further to get some other products.
After dehuling, an expelling process follows before oil is filtered through these machines.
Yes.
Then a composting process is done, after which the nuts are transferred here for milling. From dehulling to the final stage of filtration, croton nuts form the basis of several products such as protein supplements that are sold to poultry farmers, organic fertilizer, and beauty products. The seed is used for making animal feeds. These croton seeds are indeed golden seeds for Laikipia County residents who have posed a challenge to agricultural stakeholders in the country to embrace innovation and help counter problems of unemployment and poverty. Reporting from Prime Edition from Laikipia County, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
My friends and I used to play bano with croton seeds when we were young. Well, who knew? Thank you, Frederick, for that report. Now, local artists could increase by 45% the royalties they earn if they enlist on online streaming services. Mdundo CEO Martin Nilsson says the play average time for Kenyan music has remained low, but this is likely to change in 2 years, driven by growing appetite for vernacular songs.
Over 80% of songs played in Africa are by African artists, while in Kenya, about half of songs played are by locals. This is in contrast to the increasing popularity of African-style music, Afrobeats, which is the fastest-growing genre in the world.
I do think that it's important that artists have choice. So I think policies on the area can also be a bit tricky, because then you might limit some options that might work well for some artists. Artists might sign away their rights, but you don't know what they're getting in return. So they might get something that's good for them and that they are happy with.
There's that disparity that we see based on Kenya being a very English-oriented country. So there's a lot of competition per se from what will be deemed as international catalog. So of course, as a Kenyan, if you're able to localize, hyper-localize, say if you're from the coast, do more of those that orient or those that pull and attract and tell the story that is very local, well and good. But
online streaming services reckon this number could be boosted if more vernacular songs are listed on digital platforms.
I think it's important that there's a lot of different options for artists. And so I think what we're seeing right now is there's an entrance of all kind of different players, record labels, music services like ourselves, who are trying to give artists different options. I think what's the problem is sometimes the artists are tied into terms that they might not really understand fully, or might not really be fair.
He says as Kenyans continue to subscribe to streaming services, year-on-year revenue for artists would more than double. Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Vijana chapakazi wenye nguvu za ziada.
My youth. Uko na talent ya kusing, spoken word, kucompose jingles ama any other unexploited artistic talent. Gava through Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy na KBC sasa wamekama up na project ya kupromote usanii called Studio Mashinani. Hizi ni studios ziko grassroots and they are fitted with high quality state-of-the-art equipment where you can produce quality audio and video music content for free. What's more, wanaoffer mentorship na talanta yako itakuwa promoted on KBC Channel 1 TV, Y254 na radio stations za KBC. Tembelea Studio Mashinani huko Comarox, Langata, Sauti House Mombasa, Kirwara huko Gatanga, Kitui next to Manyanyoni Chiefs Camp na Kisumu City wako hapo KBC station. Usilalie talent. This is your chance to commercialize and popularize your talent through Studio Mashinani.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Now, the construction of 3 water ponds in Tana River County is set to be completed in June this year. The project aims to enhance irrigation, infrastructure and water resource development in the semi-arid county. The government is spending 300 million shillings in the semi-arid county deal with food security and water scarcity.
The Small Irrigation and Value Addition project aims at reducing poverty by enhancing agricultural productivity, income and food security in 16 arid and semi-arid counties. The project will also see the construction of access roads, new markets and storage facilities for farmers in the targeted counties. Late last year, the Minister of Agriculture released 300 million shillings to help expedite the construction of the water ponds. The project involves the construction of 3 water ponds in the Mkomani, Nkozi and Mpongwe areas in Tana River County. Drilling and equipping of 8 boreholes, fencing and reseeding of pasture grounds in Chifiri and Hakoka is already complete. The project is funded by the African Development Bank, Global Agriculture and Food Security Program and the Government of Kenya. The project is being implemented in Tana River, Makueni, Kajiado, Machakos, Bomet, Tharaka Nithi, Meru, Nyeri, Nyandarua and Kitui by the State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research.
And plans to create a national real estate investment trust is gathering steam with the Capital Markets Authority in collaboration with Sanduku Investment Initiative, announcing a partnership aimed at aligning the trust with government's agenda to deliver affordable housing units across the country. Here is Nduta Mukami with the details.
Government to construct 250,000 housing units annually over the next 5 years is gaining pace through the public-private partnership model. In line with this, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is expected to list a new real estate investment trust this year, highlighting the growing interest in funds as an alternative investment. The Capital Markets Authority Chief Executive Officer Wycliffe Shamia says real estate investment trusts have the potential to facilitate access to capital through the capital markets to meet the growing demand for purpose-built real estate solutions, including for those at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Consequently, the initiative will see the affordable housing program include infrastructure that will map out the investments as solutions to growing house demand. Further, stakeholders note that the Real Investment Trust will help deepen the domestic capital markets that will create a pool for better returns. Sanduku Investment Initiative Chairperson Tom Mulwa says, real estate investment trusts that will be registered under the Kenya National Right Initiative are expected to be scalable with the potential to contribute to national economic growth, employment creation, and avail decent housing to deserving Kenyans. Once the industry stakeholders validate the proposed model, further engagements will take place to ensure there is investment appetite and support as the rollout of the affordable housing units picks momentum. This will then be followed by the structuring of a pilot real estate initiative trust under the Kenya National Real Estate Initiative Trust. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
And Disney has announced plans to cut 7,000 jobs as part of a major shakeup of the entertainment giant. The layoffs are part of a plan to save $5.5 billion in costs and make the Disney Plus streaming service profitable. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
The announcement about job cuts at Disney came as Chief Executive Bob Iger announced the first set of financial results since his return to the company in November. The figures showed a rise in earnings but the drop in Disney Plus subscribers since its launch in 2019. Revenue rose 8% to $23.5 billion for the period and net income was up by 11% to $1.3 billion. During the quarter, the number of Disney Plus subscribers fell by around 2.4 million to 161.8 million. The plan will see the company restructure into 3 segments, namely an entertainment unit, including film, TV and streaming, a sports-focused ESPN unit, and Disney Parks experiences and products. Elsewhere, Google is searching for ways to reassure people that it is still in the front in the race for the best artificial intelligence technology. An advert designed to show off its new AI bots showed it answering a query incorrectly. Shares in Google's parent company Alphabet sank more than 7%, knocking $100 billion of the firm's market value. A Google spokesperson said the error highlighted the importance of a rigorous testing process, something that they are kicking off this week with their trusted tester program. Finally, some Twitter users were unable to tweet after the website experienced technical problems. Account holders received a message saying they are over the daily limit for sending tweets. The outage tracking website Down Detector reported the glitch. Elon Musk had slashed Twitter's workforce over the last few months since he acquired the platform last October for $44 billion. Experts have been warning that such deep cuts could cause technical issues that, though it is not yet clear if the reduced headcount was to blame for Wednesday's outage.
Well, that particular story closes the business segment of the bulletin. Sports news is where we want to go next. Daniel Wahome is standing by on the other side of studio. Daniel Wahome, what do you have for us?
Well, Betty, we'll be talking about hockey, the FKF Premier League, and also about Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala.
Take it away.
All right, and welcome to this Sports Bulletin. My name is Daniel Wahome. As Kenya prepares to host the Africa Cup of Club Hockey Championships, slated to run from the 13th to the 19th of this month, the local organizing committee has confirmed that 10 women's and 12 men's teams will take part in the continental event.
Kenya got the right to host the event last year December after Malawi and South Africa declined to stage the event and is expected to field 5 teams, 3 women's and 2 men's teams.
We could not even approach the government for financial assistance because this was not a tournament projected in our budget. 2022-2023.
Teams from 6 African nations, including Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Tanzania, are expected to arrive in Nairobi tomorrow, ready to take part in the continental tournament.
It's a happy moment for us. Let me put it that way. And we are ready for it. I'd say we'll use the same mantra we used while starting the league to approach the continental tournament.
The team has changed a little bit. We have still a lot of experience from the teams that have won since 2012.
Coming this tournament, I think we are looking forward for a goal. That one we can promise you.
Kenya Women's Premier League champions Strathmore University Scorpions will face rivals Blazers in the opening match at the City Park Hockey Stadium on Monday next week, while the male champions Butali Warriors will meet their counterparts Kenya Police in their opener at the Sikh Union Club.
Thank you very much, Nora, for that story. Now, African champion Ferdinand Omanyala clocked 6.55 seconds to win the men's 60 meters dash at the Monville meeting in France. Omanyala, who had finished second in his heat, beat Ivorian at the Cis, who finished second in 6.59 seconds. In the men's 800 meters race, Alex Ngeno Kipngetich finished third after clocking 1 minute 50.38 seconds behind Spaniard Javier Miron and Briton Daniel Roden, who finished first and second respectively. Emedi Kiplimo finished 8th in the 3,000 meters, clocking 7.58 seconds. Vivian Chebet Kiprotich finished 7th in the women's 1,500 meters with a time of 4 minutes 14.74 seconds. Wiseman Were finished second in the 400 meters final, while Collins Omai finished third in the 400 meters final B. In Poland, Commonwealth 800 meters champion Mary Mora made her World Indoor Tour debut with a 4th place at the Orlen Copernicus Cup in Tyrone. Mora finished the 2-lap race in 2 minutes 1.51 seconds. Remember that Omanyala's time of 6.55 seconds is a new national record in the 60 meters indoor. And on to football, where AFC Leopards scored 6 goals against Talanta FC to move up to 5th position on the FKF Premier League table, but equal on points with 6th place Tusker FC as Talanta remained 14th. Leopards, who began the match at the Nyayo National Stadium in 7th position on 22 points, netted 2 first-half goals to set them on the road to victory before adding 4 more in the second half for the much-deserved 6-0 victory. It was only one of the 2 matches played today, with the second game between Posta Rangers and Wazito FC ending in a 1-1 draw at the Kasarani Annex. Posta remained 11th on the table, with Wazito hanging on to 16th position above bottom place sides Mathare United and Vihiga Bullets. Top of the table are Nzoia Sugar on 31 points, one above Gor Mahia and KCB, who are 2nd and 3rd respectively. And European champions Real Madrid will face Asian champions Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia this Saturday in the FIFA Club World Cup final in Morocco. Africa's quest for a 3rd Club World Cup final appearance ended when Real defeated Egypt's Al Ahly by 4-1 in the semi-final last night. Madrid will be seeking for their 5th title, while Al Hilal will be out to rewrite history as the first Asian team to win the trophy since its inception in 2007.
Real Madrid produced a second-half masterclass performance to thrash Al Ahly of Egypt 4-1 in the last semi-final of the 2022 FIFA Club World Cup, played last evening at the Prince Zimouli Abdallah Stadium in Rabat City in the Kingdom of Morocco. The 45-seating capacity stadium was overflowing, forcing many ticket holders to watch the entire action while standing. Al Ahly, who are Africa's most decorated club, started brightly, holding the European champions until the dying minutes of the first half, when sloppy defending gifted Vinicius Jr. a chance to shoot from close range to take the lead into halftime.
Oh, it's picked up here by Vinicius, an error at the back, and Vinicius punishes Al Ahly.
Madrid doubled their lead immediately after a restart through Federico Valverde before Ahly cutting the deficit from the spot through Ali Maaloul after Eduardo Camavinga caught down Hassan El Shihata inside the box.
Federico Valverde with a second goal for Real Madrid, but his first instinct was to look towards the assist. Toes in the middle. Penalty. Referee had an unimpeded view of that challenge on El Shahat. Here it is again.